and welcome to Rhetorical Questions, where we test your advertising knowledge. Let's go back to where the study of rhetoric all began. Aristotle's Rhetoric is an ancient text about the act of persuasion. Scholar Linda M. Scott writes that we must let go of the notion that advertising images must be understood as reflections or distortions of reality. Keeping in line with Aristotle, Scott recognizes advertising images as a symbol system employed for the purpose of persuasion. Scott defines rhetoric as an interpretive theory that frames a message as an interested party's attempt to influence an audience. Going back to Aristotle, we can compare his definition of rhetoric: identifying in a given situation the available means of persuasion. Aristotle's rhetorical proofs involve three concepts: logos, pathos, and ethos. These can also be understood as the message, the audience, and the speaker. Let's see how well our contestants can identify these things in some advertisements we've chosen. Before we get started meeting our contestants, just a reminder to our viewers that all of our contestants have been versed in Aristotle. Let's just remind you at home what some of these things are. Logos is the message. This is the reason the ad exists and the truth it is trying to convey. Pathos is the audience. Who is this ad designed for, and what emotions of them are being played upon to influence them? Ethos is the speaker. What qualities of the speaker's character enhance their credibility, and who is the speaker? Our first contestant of the day is Brian Hang. Now, Brian, what do you think the message of this advertisement is?
I think the message for this first advertisement is that regardless of who you are, as long as you're wearing the D-squared brand jeans, that you'd be sexually attractive to women. So seeing that there's two different men in this picture, granted both are wearing the same clothes, and they're both in the same situation with this naked girl right there.
Okay, great. Now moving on to our next ad. We have this one here. So what do you think, what emotions are they playing on in this advertisement that would entice you to purchase these Tom Ford clothes?
You can kind of break away from the old picture of hippies being one with nature, and that hippies dressing in technicolor clothing and what have you, whereas you can still be sophisticated and still be a huge proponent of nature.
Okay, great. And moving on to our next advertisement, we have this one here. It says Oreo Milk's favorite summer dip. What qualities are enhancing the credibility of Oreo and the Kraft Foods brand here?
I think the qualities is the Oreo brand itself, because Kraft is such a well-known brand across the nation that Oreo is a self-sustaining brand. Everyone associates Oreos with milk, so it's the perfect advertisement.
Very true. Now, moving on to our next advertisement, we have this diesel ad. You'll never wish you were somewhere else. How do you feel about this advertisement? What kind of message is it portraying, and what is the reason for it?
I think the message this advertisement is trying to portray is that regardless of the situation you're in, you'll always be comfortable with the diesel brand jeans. Seeing in this picture, this person is obviously passed out on the floor underneath a rug. So regardless of the awkward situation he finds himself in, being in diesel jeans leaves him comfortable, and it's not that awkward of a situation for him.
Okay, and our final advertisement we have here, Tostitos corn chips. The text reads, "The time you found out corn was a grain. You thought corn was a vegetable, didn't you? Its habit of hanging out in the produce section probably threw you off. Well, surprise, your favorite Tostitos tortilla chips are naturally made with whole grain corn. Who knew corn's secret life could be so delicious?" What emotions are they playing on here to really get at the consumer?
I think the emotion they're playing on is the health conscious consumer, that instead of, like I said, being an unhealthy snack, Tostitos can be the whole grain alternative, which is obviously healthier than fried or baked goods.
Hi, and welcome to our next contestant, Rachel Hemler. So the first advertisement we're going to be looking at today is here, an ad from D Squared. How about the audience that this advertisement is intended for?
I guess it would be intended for males who would want to buy the jeans or the clothes because it has a woman who's not wearing any clothes, which might be suggestive towards the male audience. And then there's a well-chiseled manly figure, which might be what most men want to look like.
All right, great. Moving on to the next advertisement here. This is an ad from Tom Ford. Who do you think the speaker is, and what qualities do they have that give them credibility?
I guess the speaker is sort of the model and the brand. Tom Ford is a well-known designer, and I think that adds credibility to the ad. And the way that the model is posing, it looks like he's confident in what he's wearing, and he's like pulling off this look.
Now moving on to our next advertisement, we have this one from Oreo. And how about the different emotions that will influence the audience here?
I think it makes you kind of feel summertime, gets you thinking about maybe a pool, which might trigger thoughts of summer, and then the Oreo floating might trigger feelings of being hungry and wanting to be satisfied.
And now moving on to our next ad, we have this ad from Diesel. You'll never wish you were somewhere else. What kind of message do you think this ad is conveying? What is its reason?
Looking at this ad, I don't really understand it. If I had to guess, I'm not really sure why there are legs sticking out from under what looks like an oriental rug.
Okay, and moving on to our last advertisement, we have this one from Tostitos. What do you think the message here is, and what kind of emotions are they trying to get out of their audience?
I think the message is that their product is a chip, but that it also has grains in it. I think people have known for a while that Tostito makes corn chips, but they're kind of playing that corn is a grain, and so it's a bit humorous.
Well, that was certainly an interesting game. Our contestants did a great job of trying to decode these messages using Aristotle's techniques. The judges have come to the conclusion that our first contestant, Brian, is the winner. Interestingly enough, 3 of the advertisements used came from a men's magazine, and Brian, being male, was able to decode these advertisements slightly better than our second contestant was able to. In the first ad, Brian recognized the use of the naked woman to bring in the male audience. In the second ad, he kind of oddly equated the advertisement with nature, which may or may not have been true, but at least it was an interesting point. In the third advertisement, he recognized the quality of the Kraft brand and also connected the text with the idea of summer that they were playing on in this ad. In the fourth ad, Rachel had a little bit of trouble decoding this one, but Brian seemed confident in his answer. And in the final ad, the Tostitos corn chips, Brian recognized that the company was able to capture this idea of, a healthful-minded person buying the Tostitos corn chip. Tune in next week to find out which one of our contestants can answer the rhetorical questions and discover the logos, ethos, and pathos hidden inside advertisements.